Hell yeah, dude. This video has been a long time coming, bro. This is not some normal run-of-the-mill video, guys. This is the long time awaited collaboration between me and the legend himself, StuTalks. So I had this idea come up when I saw his Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind Blu-ray special edition. God knows how many people, like less people that can fit inside my hands have this fucking thing. After seeing that video, I had the idea of like, yo, maybe I should talk about Kaufman's most famous movies in his filmography, but it would be awesome to do it with Stu since Eternal Sunshine is his favorite movie. So I told him about it and he was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. Here are our thoughts on Kaufman's movies. To start off, I'm gonna be talking about Being John Malkovich. I remember snippets of this movie from when I was like 8 years old probably, which is, it's kind of fucked up. I didn't see the entire movie, but I remember snippets and just small little clips that I just didn't understand what was going on. Like that scene where John Cusack has the two puppets humping against each other on the wall and this guy is just like, you motherfucker, and just clocks him. And that scene where John Malkovich is at a bar and he's fighting with a dude and he's just like twitching and shit and he's like bleeding. That shit traumatized me as a kid. I was so confused. I didn't know if this was a horror movie or a drama. You know, I was a child, so of course I wasn't gonna get it. But after rewatching it now as an adult, this movie is hilariously inventive and original. This movie is ahead of its time, man. It touches on so many subjects that are becoming more and more relevant today that I was actually kind of shocked because this movie came out in like 1999, I think. It's directed by Spike Jonze, which, if you guys don't know who Spike Jonze is, this dude is a fucking skateboarder. Like, he's in the skateboarding industry. He's got ties with like Plan B and a bunch of other skate brands. He was on Bad Grandpa, or at least worked on it, and he was in The Wolf of Wall Street. This dude, goddamn, this directorial debut of his is so fucking good. Yeah, this is his first movie, like his first length feature film, and I feel like he captured Kaufman's style just perfectly down to the T. I'm actually amazed that Spike Jonze was able to deliver this type of film where it feels like the man has been directing for years. If I have a problem with Being John Malkovich, is that at some points it got kind of boring. The character of Maxine I fucking hate, and I know that she's a villain somewhat, but I just, oh god, I could not stand that character. Catherine Keener, I'm sorry if I'm not saying her name right, please don't kill me. I feel like she did such a great job as this just, oh god, I just don't like this woman at all. Cameron Diaz was good. John Cusack is, I didn't even see John Cusack. That's how good of a performance he delivers in this movie. And the movie has twists and turns that you do not expect, and it gets freaky, and it gets weird, and I love it. Take it away, Stu. I want to see what you think about this movie right here.
Thank you for kicking things off there, my boy. Before I get into my thoughts on Being John Malkovich, I thought I'd just slide in and say something about our collab before, because why the fuck not? This is fucking awesome to be finally doing this. It's been a long time coming, a long time in the making, and as he's already said, fucking Kaufman is one of my favourite writers, directors working today. Holy shit. So I was obviously not going to turn down the opportunity to make a video about Kaufman with one of my other favourite fucking YouTubers, so let's just fucking do this shit. So yeah, just like my boy Digital, I saw Being John Malkovich when I was a lot younger. I don't think I watched the full thing, but I remember seeing a tiny snippet of it. I saw the bit where he crawls through the door and becomes John Malkovich for the first time, and I was like, fuck no, what the fuck is happening? What the fuck's going on, everyone? So yeah, I came back to it when I was a bit older and I was like, yeah, okay, this is actually an awesome film. I just think that Spike Jonze's direction is just the best. He is a fantastic director. As we already said, he's a guy you don't expect to be this good at directing. I don't think you mentioned it, but he also made Jackass. What the fuck? The guy that made Jackass fucking made Being John Malkovich. It is so good to see a director that just gets the style of the writer as well. I just feel like he nails Kaufman's style in this film. I just love it when you see a director-writer duo that just work together so well. This is one of those. Jonze and Kaufman work so well together. This is the first example of them just being like, yeah, you know what? We're gonna fucking smash it and make a wicked film. It's one of those films which is just so batshit and mental, but really fun and playful as well. It's probably the most kind of playful and fun of Kaufman's screenplays, as well as the direction from Spike Jonze. I just love it. I just think it's so much fun, this film. But like all of Kaufman's films, and one of the main qualities I love so much about him as a writer is the fact that it can be so crazy and batshit and mental and kind of funny, but it also teaches you a lot about life, and that is one of the best things about Being John Malkovich. You get to the end of this film, you're like, I'm learning shit. This is some deep shit. It's so watchable as well. It doesn't get dragged down and being too deep. It's just everything I want from a film like this. It is awesome. I fucking love Being John Malkovich. It's so good. And yeah, Maxine does really fucking suck. And it's also probably one of my favourite Cusack performances. But anyway, back to you, Digital, for the next film on our list. Oh, mama.
Alright, so the second movie that I'm going to be talking about is Adaptation. I had no idea what this movie was about. All I knew is that it had Nicolas Cage as the main actor. Oh boy. This movie is again directed by Spike Jonze, and Adaptation was a fucking mindfuck for me. Like, I was left scrambled with this one. Now, I do have something to say about Adaptation. I don't think the direction is as good as Being John Malkovich. I think it's almost getting there, but there's just something about Adaptation that doesn't feel as grandiose or maybe as exciting as Being John Malkovich, where it feels as being this very interesting and like very, very weird type of film. It makes up with great writing, and the writing in this is like the peak of what this movie has to offer, because it is fucking crazy. So it's about Charlie Kaufman, played by Nicolas Cage, whilst in the production of Being John Malkovich, and he's trying to adapt this book to a screenplay because he wants to make something original. He's like, I want to make a screenplay about flowers. I've never seen a movie about that. I've never seen anybody write that. And you see him go throughout this entire just mental breakdown through and through the movie. He's self-loathing, he hates himself, he's insecure, he's just like freaking out, also while dealing with personal issues like relationships, his own self-esteem, and so on and so forth. The movie had a line that I love this line. It actually made me cry. I got really emotional. I don't want to spoil it, but it's a certain scene around the end that Nicolas Cage has with a certain somebody. And it was like a line about love. And I was like, God damn it. It got me, okay? It got me. It made me cry. I'm gonna admit it. Also, one more thing. How can a movie be heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time? It may be a little slow, but I'd say give it a chance because it's really worth the mind fuck. Hey, yo, Stu, what are your thoughts on Adaptation, bruh?
I'm gonna give you my thoughts. So yeah, first up, with Adaptation, you guys know I dig me anything that Nick Cage is in. I love that man. Don't I, Nick? He's shy today, but fuck me, I love him. Yeah, anything he's in is a bingo for me, except USS Indianapolis. Actually, probably half of his filmography, but we'll slide past that. I fucking love Nick Cage when he's good. But I love it when a director can channel Nick Cage in the right way. And when that happens, you often get something really special and unique out of Nick Cage. And Adaptation is one of those films. But in the same way as Being John Malkovich, this film is just a little bit batshit. And it's the best kind of batshit. And it's probably my favourite thing about it is just the link with Being John Malkovich. And everything that arises from that in that weird, self-aware, meta way. Oh my goodness, it's probably like the most meta film there is out there. And I fucking love a meta film. Any film that just kind of drops in the fact that it's self-aware or knows what it is and is like intertextual with other shit that's been... I'll love it. I'll sucker for it. And this film just hooked me in that way. The layered storyline, the meta-ness of the fact that it's about Charlie Kaufman, it's written by... blows my head. I love it. I'm not gonna lie, it's one of those films which takes a little while to click. When I first saw it, I was like... Oh, wait, hold on, what? But it does click towards the end, and with multiple viewings, it becomes even more interesting to analyse. I think it's more genius and clever than Being John Malkovich, even though I do agree, I think Being John Malkovich is probably the better film of the two. A lot of people have problems with the ending. I loved it. But about halfway through the film, Kaufman tells you how the film's going to end. Watch it again. He tells you how the film's going to end, and then it just sort of does that. And you get to the ending, and you're like, wow. It's all kind of coming full circle. Oh my goodness, I want to be in bed with the Kaufman. I want to insert things. It also takes the time to get deep and moving as well, which I absolutely love in films. Sort of surprise emotion in films is one of my favourite things, where it's crazy and batshit and you're getting a little bit mind-fucked, and then suddenly things click and you're just crying. You're not entirely sure why you're crying, but you know you're enjoying it. And yeah, the moment that Digital mentioned about love is incredibly poignant. I definitely cried at that bit as well, man. Don't worry about it. I just cannot help but feel things for the characters in Kaufman films. This one is no different. I love Adaptation. I think it's wicked.
Oh boy, I know who's excited to talk about this little movie right here. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is probably Kaufman's most famous film. I mean, it has to be. There's too many Tumblr gifs and quotes about this movie for it not to be the most popular one. It's directed by Michel Gondry, and it stars Jim Carrey, Kate Winslet, and a variety of other actors like Mark Ruffalo, Elijah Wood, and Kirsten Dunst. I think the reason that this movie is probably the most popular one is that it's a movie about love. And since you already know, this is not your run-of-the-mill movie about love or romance or relationships, because it's a Kaufman movie. It's a movie about sacrifice. It's a movie about when to let that person go. It's actually kind of sad for the majority of the movie, but still, there's a lot of beauty to be found in it. There's a lot of beauty to be found in the loneliness or the anger or the happy moments, the beautiful moments, the dark moments in a relationship that you can have with another human being. And from my perspective, I think this movie takes place in the near future, maybe because there are these corporations or there are these businesses that offer to clients the ability to erase their memories of people that they've been with in the past, or if they've gone through a recent breakup, they could just wipe it all away. Whoever is erasing their memories, you go into their psyche, you go into the past and their psychological traumas, whatever's affected them the most, and the way that they just portrayed it and directed it was pure fucking genius. Jim Carrey's performance, good God, man, so good, so just masterful. I think that has to be one of his best performances. I don't want to call it the best. I love him in The Mask too much. I gotta admit it. I'm sorry, Stu. I failed you, man. I'm sorry. No, but I'm being serious. This is one of his best performances. I was honestly surprised because I never thought that he could pull off drama so well. He was in the number 23 and that movie's just forgettable. I honestly can't remember his performance all that well in that one, but overall, Jim Carrey in this movie just knocks it out of the fucking park. And Kate Winslet was really good too, but again, like, I just don't like her character, and I was just like, oh my god, why are you writing these unlikable characters? I didn't feel like Kate Winslet was being good to Jim Carrey. I'm talking about their characters. I felt like she was just so mean and just oh god, I just got so angry because Jim Carrey's such a good guy and he's such a, vulnerable dude, and I was like, come on, man, don't let her do that to you, dude. Just stop it, okay? But it's amazing. It's an amazing movie, and I could totally understand if somebody would consider this their favorite movie. I'm gonna leave this one to Stu because he's probably gonna push me out of the frame right now. He's crazy to talk about this one, man.
Shit. Now we hit the gold mine. You guys know how much I love me some Eternal Sunshine, so this is gonna be tough to keep this nice and concise, but let's fucking do it. So Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is the best film ever made in my opinion. I fucking love this one. It is 100%, without a doubt in my mind, the best depiction or exploration of love and relationships and what you mean to other people that has ever been put on film ever, period. I fucking love this shit. It's one of those concepts that Kaufman comes up with that is just so innately interesting and fascinating and just gets you hooked from the get-go. Just like in Being John Malkovich, where you're like, oh, we're going into the mind of John Malkovich? That's crazy. Give me some popcorn. I'm fucking hooked. In this one, it's just like the concept of erasing someone from your mind so you can no longer remember them and exploring that in a film by going through that person's mind. That is amazing. How is that not the most incredible concept ever? And Michel Gondry as a director just completely nails the exploration of that from a visual side of things. My goodness, everything about this film comes together and works so well. I love the performances, particularly Jim Carrey, who gives his best performance ever. Just like you, Digital, I fucking love Jim Carrey, don't get me wrong. And yeah, I fucking love The Mask as well, so there's that. But this is so different from anything else Jim Carrey's done, and he just nails it. He's just so good. Every scene with him in this film, I'm watching and I don't know how to describe it. I just feel him. I just feel him in this film. A look on his face in this film will get me going. Oh my god. But Kate Winslet alongside him is also phenomenal. Probably my favourite performance from her as well. But she has done a lot of really good shit. But also she's got different coloured hair in this. And I'm just a sucker for that shit. Sign me up for coloured hair. I love that shit. It's one of the reasons I fell in love with Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Scott Pilgrim. I'm not ashamed to say. I love coloured hair. Maybe a shallow reason to love someone in a film, but fuck it. Yeah, just the performances, the direction, the writing, everything comes together, and I just don't think I've ever been so hooked and moved by a film ever. It just does something to me, this film. It has one of my favourite scenes in any film ever, a scene which I regularly just sort of watch on its own. It's on YouTube. I just watch the scene, and without a doubt, I will start crying just like 30 seconds into it. I can't get through the scene without crying. It is incredible. And that is a sequence where they're in a house on a beach, and it is all sort of falling apart around them, and they're talking to each other about their relationship, and like what if, sort of like what went wrong. Oh my god, this is just like, performances are perfect, direction is perfect, the music as well here is perfect. It's one of those scenes which just gets me, and this film is littered with those. I'm gonna stop talking on about it because I could just talk about it for hours, and just don't want this video to be hours long. Don't want to ruin this collab. We got something good going on here, so I'll just steadily move on from that. But fuck me, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is the best film ever made in my opinion. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing? Go and get it, watch it, do it now, right now. Pause this, do it now. back over to you, Digital, you son bitch.
Next up is Synecdoche, New York. This is an interesting one because this is Charlie Kaufman's directorial debut. This movie stars Philip Seymour Hoffman, who plays Cadence, who is a theater director, and wow, is this movie so sad, but at the same time so beautiful. Once again, you know, we just keep seeing this recurring thing in Kaufman's movies. It's like, I'm gonna break your heart, but at the same time, you know, it's alright because we're all in this shit together anyways. And that is literally what this movie is about in a way. I like to see it that way because to me, Synecdoche, New York is a movie overall about life. We see Cadence go throughout his life. He's getting older. We see what happens with his relationships with his daughter, with himself. It's kind of a really messed up movie because Cadence isn't the best man, sort of say. He makes a lot of mistakes and he makes a lot of decisions that are just very selfish and just they go into the worst direction. But at the same time, it's like, you know, we all do that because we're human. There is one scene which I talked about in my review that I considered probably my favorite scene in the movie, where Cadence is doing this recital or this rehearsal, and there is a pastor and he's just reading, I guess, from like a eulogy or something. So badass and so real. I was just like, wow. It's really trippy too. The movie is very psychedelic in kind of a nightmarish way because it's got this really dark look to it, this really gray kind of, you know, bland colors, and everything just feels like it's dragging you down like on a really cloudy day. I feel like I have gone with Cadence throughout his whole life, and this movie's like about 2 or 3 hours long, which is long, but for a movie to make you feel like you've gone with somebody throughout their entire life in the span of just 3 hours, again, Kaufman is a genius. And I gotta thank Stu for recommending it to me because I have known about this movie like throughout my whole life. I would see the trailer for the Sony Pictures Classics movies that I own, and I would always see it, and I was like, what is this movie? What's it about? It's so weird. And when I saw it, I was so happy that I did, so I gotta recommend it to you guys too. Go check this movie out. Now let's see what the Kaufman expert himself has to say.
So Synecdoche, New York for me is probably Kaufman's deepest and most dense film in terms of exactly what it's trying to explore. There is just so much packed into this film. I don't know if I'll ever truly understand it all. And that's just so exciting to me. I love a film like that, which I can get something new out of on every rewatch. And Synecdoche, New York nails that side of things. It is a stunning film. I love this one. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is probably my favourite film of all time. Synecdoche, New York may well also be in the top 5. It's genuinely astonishing, this film. And as Digital's already said, this is the first one that Kaufman actually directed himself. This is his debut as well as writing it. And he does a really, really interesting and fascinating job with that. It's so interesting comparing him to the first couple of films he did with Spike Jonze, because those have this weird kind of almost light-hearted funness to them, which I think comes from Spike Jonze's direction, because he is quite a fun, quirky director. But without that in the picture, and with Kaufman, the director of his own content, he's able to kind of go a little bit more deeper, and as a result of that, it doesn't quite have the same kind of lightheartedness, funness of some of his other works that he's written for other directors. It is just a very, very depressing film, this one. But that's not a bad thing at all. There is just so much to unpack here, and it teaches you, again, so much about life, so much about existence. It's not a film which is interested in giving you any answers. It's a film which is interested in just sort of taking you along and kind of helping you feel and relate with certain characters that don't know what the fuck's going on. And Philip Seymour Hoffman gives the best performance of his career here. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He is so good in this film. I love him. And I think for a lot of people, this film can be a little bit too heavy. I think it can put a lot of people off just by how dense it is. I think if you don't click with it and you don't attempt to get into it deeper than you're going, you're not really going to enjoy it and get much out of it. So I can definitely see why it might not be for everyone, but I just think it is such a fascinating look at life and also time and how we let things slip by and how life just kind of goes past us without us taking note of certain things. One of the many beautiful elements of the film is the way it explores the passing of time. And that's something that's done really interestingly in the visuals as well. It's one of the things I love so much about the fact that Kaufman here is directing his own screenplay. He is able to bring his visual side of things into it and put on screen in a visual way the stuff that he wanted to get out of the screenplay, which means there are just so many subtleties to the framing, to things in the background of shots, that all add to the themes he's trying to explore, and it means that every different rewatch, you'll see something different, and you'll be like, there's a really weird link there. There's something really awesome that he does with clocks and time in the film, which is amazing. Google it. I fucking love Synecdoche, New York. It's astonishing. And I have to agree with Digital as well. The kind of past the scene where he's reading out this kind of eulogy at this funeral thing, it's really poignant and really moving, and one of those speeches in a film which just stands out and just grabs you. And there are so many moments like that in this film. Another one for me, off the top of my head, is the scene in which Cadence is talking to his daughter near the end. I can't really spoil too much, but my God, it's just a powerful, powerful film. It's one of those screenplays which is so powerful and moving without feeling like it's trying to be. Characters will just say stuff, and it feels so mundane and normal, but has so much weight to it because everything else around the film has added to that and has just brought so much context and weight to certain lines. The best thing about Kaufman's film, and the best thing about this film for me, is that different people will take different kind of moments from it and add so much weight to it from their own experience, and that is just incredibly powerful to me. Fuck me, Synecdoche, New York is amazing. I'm glad I recommended it to you, Digital. And if anyone else is watching this that hasn't seen it, go and fucking watch Synecdoche, New York. It is astonishing. It's one of my favourite films of all time. Kaufman did it again, boys.
And finally, Kaufman's latest movie, Anomalisa. Anomalisa, for me, is probably his worst film. And it has nothing to do with the technical aspects of it because, once again, it's done masterfully. It's about this man called Michael Stone who's going on this trip, I guess like a business trip, and throughout the movie we see how he perceives life. Like through his perspective, everything is monotonous, bland, everybody is a carbon copy to him, nobody to him or anything at all is special. So the dude is sad, he's reminiscing about his exes even though he's married and he has a son, and throughout his trip we see the things that he partakes in while staying at this hotel. I thought this movie was too long, and I did not like the characters. I do not like the character of Michael Stone, and I do not like the character of Lisa, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, which sucks because I like Jennifer Jason Leigh. I just didn't like any characters. I just didn't like any of them in this movie, but I was enjoying the movie throughout, mostly for its trippy visuals, the animation, the score, the cinematography, everything else was just on point, but Anomalisa was not what I expected it to be. Yes, it has its moments that are like, wow, you know, that's really deep, it's got me thinking there, but overall, I was left disappointed. I still would recommend that you see this for the stop motion animation and the beautiful visuals that it has. But in my opinion, I think this is his weakest film. I just hope that his next movie treads into new territory, or that he tries to take more of a risk, because I've noticed a certain pattern of recurring themes or types of characters or types of character arcs that are repetitive throughout his filmography. I still love his movies. I just hope that in the future he, brings something new, something fresh that we haven't seen. But in the end, man, I feel like Kaufman is such an underrated filmmaker. I think that he should... God, it's so unfair. His movies should be praised more, and they should have a bigger audience and fan base, because they are really gripping and they just make you think. And what type of movie nowadays makes you think? There's just so little of them, because all we're getting is just like junk food type of movies, you know?
Me again, onto our final film again here, Anomalisa, and I think I agree with Digital on this one. I do think that this is probably Kaufman's weakest effort, but that is in no means a bad thing. This film is still fantastic. I really did love it, but I do agree that there's something different about this one compared to his other ones. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but it definitely does feel like the weakest effort from him. Now, I'm a sucker for stop motion animation. I love it. I think it's a fantastic art form. I don't know how the artists have that much patience. That's another thing for another time. But yeah, I was so fascinated to see how Kaufman would come at a stop motion animated film like this, and he does do an incredibly fascinating job with it. It's unlike any other stop motion film I've seen, which is incredibly impressive. I love the animation in it. I love the character design, the puppet design. All the technical side of things there is fantastic. It is a very deep and interesting and, let's call it, artsy film, which is just not something I think you really get from a lot of stop-motion animated films, at least in the mainstream. God, I sound like a dick saying that, but fuck it. I don't think it's quite as fascinating as some of Kaufman's other works, and I think it kind of lacks that big Kaufman concept, which I think you expect from a film, which is in its own way quite refreshing and a little bit of a change for Kaufman. But as I said before, I love those kind of really odd concepts which just don't feel like they could have come from anyone else's mind other than Kaufman. And here it's not there, but it isn't particularly prominent as it is in his other films. But the story is still fascinating, and it does still have a lot to say about human nature, and what it does say is really interesting. But I think what kind of draws this one back compared to his other ones is that compared to his other films, compared to any other Kaufman films, in the context of Charlie Kaufman as a writer, this one feels a little bit more surface level. With all of Kaufman's other previous films, with Synecdoche, New York, with Eternal Sunshine, with everything, there is just so much to unpack that I think you get so much from future rewatchings. There is just so much stuff in there that I'm not sure any of them I'll ever 100% truly understand in the way that he's written it. But on this one, I feel like I watched it the first time and I was like, okay, I've got everything I need to get from that film. I don't know whether I'd jump back into watching it again too soon. I just don't feel like it's as meaty as his other films, which isn't necessarily a big flaw as a film. It still works as its own film. But for me, as a huge Kaufman fan, I do feel like I expected a little bit more from him on that one. But yeah, to wrap up on Anomalisa, it's a testament to Charlie Kaufman's talent as a creative genius that he is, that his weakest film is still such a step above some of the other shit we get nowadays. And the film which I think is weakest from him is still a fucking fantastic film. So, yeah, I love Kaufman's filmography. Everything he does, everything he touches seems to turn to gold. He doesn't really show much sign of stopping or slowing down in terms of his creative genius. I am so excited to see what he has next. Holy shit. Ooh. But yeah, back over to my boy Digital to wrap this one up. Before I do that though, and before he does wrap it up, I just have to mention that if you do want to go and follow him, the links are in the description below, and you should definitely fucking do that. Subscribe to this man, because he is one of my favourite YouTubers. Consistently puts out wicked content. But yeah, go ahead and subscribe to him unless you're a fool. There's also going to be another video we're putting up on his channel where we're talking about Edgar Wright. Go and check that out, that'll be a lot of fun as well. But yeah, back over to Digital to wrap this bad boy up. Oh yeah!
In the end, I think that Kaufman is fucking amazing, and I gotta thank all of those who have fucking told me, go watch his movies, man. Just please do it. I want to thank Stu for this collaboration. This was awesome. I had a lot of fun. You guys are the best, but let us know what you guys think in the comments, Facebook, or Twitter, and we will see you dudes next time. Adios.